Hello, welcome back to Crushing Sounds. My name is Chris, and I'm so excited to welcome a very special guest to the channel today. I'm joined by one of the UK's finest bass players, a member of both Fury and Hands Off Gretel, and who shared the stage with the legendary Mercyful Fate, the awesome Becky Baldwin. So thank you so much for joining me today, Becky. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good today. Thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
No worries at all. I noticed you just got back from Stone Dead Festival. I'm not actually familiar with that one. Is it any good?
It's pretty cool. Like it's more classic rock kind of stuff. And so for me, I would have loved it if they had like a second stage and like just a bit more variety of bands. But it was a lot of fun, and it's just a really nice vibe, really nice people that run it, and some of the bands were really great that I saw there. But yeah, it was a bit of a wet weekend, unfortunately, so I ended up having to cut it short because the tent ended up with a big puddle in the middle,
Oh,
so
right.
I had to cut it short.
Ah, fair enough, fair enough. Cool. So, self-professed on your website as one of the UK's busiest rock bassists. I can completely believe that. I've already mentioned Fury, Hands Off Gretel, and Merciful Fate, and all that. But you've collaborated with a range of different artists over the years. You co-founded Bristol Rock Centre. You've aided music exam boards. You've given lectures at colleges, and you offer tuition as well. So, essentially, I'm very grateful you found time in your busy schedule to meet with me today. But does your life often feel like spinning plates the size of houses?
Yeah, a lot of the time. I mean, I guess even if you just got one band, there's a lot of different avenues to be keeping on top of. And for an independent band, especially like Fury are, you have to be your own accountant, social media marketer, agent, um, everything. You're being your own label, and there's so many things to always think about. I've just got 100 like to-do lists and like spreadsheets like all over the place. So yeah, even just one band is quite a lot. And then I also you try and do a few other things to keep myself busy, I guess. But yeah, I think for modern musicians, it's quite important because you never know where you're going to pick up those new fans and where you're going to find your way into the industry in a more profound way, like I guess in a more professional manner, because if you don't already know people, um, then you just have to just keep networking and finding people. So I guess that's why I've always tried to keep as busy as possible, and I'm happy to work with lots of different bands because you never really know what's going to come of that thing.
Sure, cool. Do you have it? Because I'm the most unorganized person I know. Do you have any tips for keeping on top of all this stuff?
Um, I think to-do lists, yeah. I mean, online to-do lists, particularly because I think anything that you can have from like your phone onto your computer, and I don't know, I found it revolutionary to have an extra screen as well, so I can have my like working screen and then the thing that says like do this next, and then you're like, okay, because I don't know, I get so distracted by everything. I also have a little timer which just like it's just an egg timer, but I find it so useful. Like if I think something's going to take a long time but I want to get started, I'll just be like, right, 10 minutes, let's see how many emails I can answer, how many like things I can do. And then I might not even set it again, but I feel like I'm suddenly in the flow of doing loads of things. And if I find myself getting distracted, I'll make sure that I've set a timer so it beeps, and then I know I have to stop doing that one task because something else is coming up. So I don't know, yeah, those would be my little tricks.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, the whole ticking clock thing reminds me of I tried an app once which will shut my phone off after if I'm on it for more than 10 minutes, but I just got frustrated with it and turned it off again. But I'll
Yeah.
figure something out at some point. I'll get on top of life and all that. But anyway, so we spoke about a festival already, so I have to do it. We're not a Bloodstock channel, but we also definitely are. So let's talk about Bloodstock Festival. This year you played Bloodstock with Fury once again. How did that set go for you guys? It looked like great fun.
It was brilliant. Yes, it was. I mean, compared to when we played in 2021, it felt just so right, and it felt flowing because when we played 2021, we weren't actually on the bill until the morning before we played. Like we were asked the day before, And if you remember, that was our first gig back in 18 months. So we were not ready, like, and it wasn't even like we could have, known a few months before to start rehearsing for that show. It was the day before. They were like, we know you guys are at the festival, because we were playing another set list, a cover set, so completely
Right.
different songs in the VIP bar. We know you're on site, so do you want to just do a Fury slot on the Sophie stage in the main part of the festival, because the band has pulled out because they have COVID, and we're hoping you still don't have COVID. We're like, oh yeah, let's do it. And but it went well, but it was very like just flying by the seat of your pants. Like, we don't know what's going to happen now. How well do we know these songs? It felt very stressful. But this other one, I mean, there was like the kind of adrenaline from for other reasons. We had a fire performer, like a dancer, Lily Oman, and that was a bit like the unknown because we hadn't really done it with actual full fire. We knew the kind of move she was doing, but we'd only done it like in the rehearsal room, and we weren't gonna start lighting things up in the rehearsal room. So we weren't sure exactly how it was going to look. But and so on stage, kind of like, oh, I should be like performing and concentrating on what I'm doing, but like, what's she doing? That's cool. So yeah, really, really good. Went really well, and we had time. We've been touring so much in the last 18 months, 2 years, so it feels a lot slicker now, and yeah, we know what we're doing now.
Yeah, fair enough. How many times have Fury played Bloodstock at this point? It's more than two, isn't it?
I don't know
I think it
because
might be.
I've played with Fury twice, like as the actual in the actual festival, and then twice more under the name Heavy Duty, doing a cover set in the VIP bar. And then I know I've seen Fury play the Sophie stage in, I think, 2016, and then I think they may have played one more time before that, but you'll have to ask Julian or someone who was in the
Sure.
band at that time because
Sure.
I can't remember.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Does it feel like you're becoming one of Bloodstock's house bands at this point?
I mean, yeah, I guess just over the last few years, because of the cover sets as well, yeah, it has felt like it. I mean, I've played there now. I think that was my ninth performance at Bloodstock Festival, which is pretty good going considering the first time I played was 2012, so it's more of a recent thing. I didn't go before 2010 to the festival, but yeah, it's quite cool that it's I
Yeah.
love the festival. It's like the highlight of every year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this channel's slowly becoming sort of a spin-off Bloodstock channel at this point because it seems to be we always end up talking about Bloodstock basically. Not through lack of trying. I love Bloodstock. But yeah, that must be really cool to like be in really good with the best metal festival in the country, basically.
Yeah, like it's definitely to my taste. So yeah, no, it's great that they recognize that we always want to play there, and and I think the fans, we have a lot of fans that go there, so it works out really well.
Great, great. Did you get to check out many bands this year?
There was a few I'm gutted to have missed, like Sacred Reich, because they were on the same day as us, and but they moved. I
They
think they
moved.
had a problem with transport, and I was checking the app, being like, I've heard that there's new times, but I don't know what they are, and then we were like driving behind like the merch stands and stuff, and you can see the screens of the main stage, and we were driving there to our stage, and I was like, oh, they're on now. I know I'm missing them. And I don't know, I guess I could have just been like, right, I'm just going to go and watch a little bit, but there was so much going on, I was like, I'm going to stay here. But I did watch, I really enjoyed KK's Priest, as a kind of surprise
Yeah.
new addition. That was great. And Zeal and Ardor, I really enjoyed those.
Yeah.
Candlemas, um, our friends in Vice played, and Dekesis. Oh, that was like one of my highlights of the weekend, watching the Dekesis set. So yeah, those were my favorites. Oh, Sepultura as well, of course.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
and the Celtic Frost Triptychon.
Yeah.
That was Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah, it was a particularly stacked year this year. I
It was.
was sprinting all over the place trying to catch everything. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Cool. So we've got quite a bit to talk about. So let's go right back to the beginning. You studied at BIM Bristol, which that's actually where I studied, as it happens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did a professional musicianship. I graduated in 2019, so
Wow.
just in time before the whole snafu 2020.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, so when you studied there, because obviously professional musicianship at BIM, at least for me, it felt very open. It's like at the end, I thought it doesn't clearly say what you do after you graduate necessarily because it covers a
Mm.
lot of avenues. Was session work the trajectory you aimed for right from the get-go, or did you develop that over time?
Um, I think at first I was hoping to do more like um theatre stuff. I was quite interested in musical theatre, so like pit work and possibly going on to do more covers bands type session work. So yeah, like live sessioning, and yeah, I guess it was all a bit just yeah, not knowing where to go when you first finish, and I just again like as we said about like doing lots of different things. I just started doing everything I could so that it hopefully eventually it would find a place where that made sense. So yeah, I started like proofreading music books and also teaching and doing some depping for bands. And yeah, so it was very open ended, and it did take a while to find my place in the music thing, which is why I've ended up like at some point I had like literally 7 or 8 bands that I was playing for at the same time. And um you had to then eventually just be like, okay, this isn't working, and I'd rather pursue this avenue, which takes so much time to do. I think the 3 years you're studying music and all the years up to that, like it's never enough time to really know what you want to do with your career. So I mean, I guess that's why you try all the different things and then see what works.
Yeah, definitely. I do remember when I was there because I was one of the guitarists. There's always like 80, 90 guitarists and maybe 20 bass players. So finding
Yeah,
people for the various bands, I guess as a bass player, I guess you were spoiled for choice of people to play with.
yeah,
Was live performance workshop a thing when you were studying? Yeah,
yeah,
I always really
yeah.
enjoyed that one. A lot of people didn't.
It was, yeah, I found it really daunting, like the first 5 weeks of uni, just being thrown on the stage, like play this song. And yeah, but I think over time I kind of, if I found a song that I felt confident with, then it was all good. But yeah, a lot of the time it I don't know, at the start it was very daunting. We had quite a lot of bass players, like in the first year that I was there was like 8 at the start of the year, and over time kind of in the final year there was only 3 of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like there was quite a lot of very keen bass players as well, and really good bass players. So they always wanted to go up and play, and I was always like, "Oh my god, please don't pick me to go up. I'm so like not prepared enough." Or, you know, it's always different when you practice at home to when you actually get on stage with these
Hmm.
other people, which is why we're doing it. But I don't know, I just felt so unprepared to do that. But now I do it all the time, and it's great.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet. I guess LPW, as we called it, was kind of like the proto session musician lifestyle, I guess. Sort of here's a song, you got a week, um, get off stage and perform it. Do you often find these days? Do you often get that kind of window of time? Like, by the way, next week, can you play this set kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess so. A lot of the time, so I do some work with a Metallica tribute band, and I normally get the set list about a week before or so. So, and we don't really do rehearsals, so we just learn the song at home, and then hopefully we'll do it in sound check. We'll just give it a run through and just make sure we've got it all correct. But yeah, it's the exact same skills that I learned at live performance workshop. Watch the live versions online and like find different ways to kind of take in the information and then just get on stage, look at all the musicians around you and try and get a feel for what they're doing. So yeah, that still happens all the time. And when I did that Mercyful Fate tour, we ended up not really having a full rehearsal together before the first show. So I don't know. Yeah, those skills are just always so useful to you. And yeah, especially to me, like doing lots of like mostly live work.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned a Metallica tribute band, though. Do you really need to revise much on Metallica songs? You probably know them all by now.
I mean, my memory is so bad. Like I always need to refresh what the set list is. But also this band are very, I mean, they're massive fans, and my like my view on tribute bands is like most people who watch a tribute band are they're fans, but they may not be like deep cuts fans. They kind of want to hear the big ones. They want to hear a few, like interesting album tracks, but you know, we always try and do lots of different things with that band, and they're always wanting to do like the new stuff. We do like 3 songs off of 72 Seasons already,
Oh
and I'm
God,
like,
that must have
these
been a
people
drag.
don't even know the album yet, like give them some chance. But they want to do it, and actually it always goes really well. So we learn a lot of new stuff quite often, and set list always gets refreshed. And there's a lot of Metallica songs out there. Like there's a lot of things I think, oh yeah, I know that song, and then I start learning it. I'm like, actually, no, I don't know this as well as I thought.
I admire the I guess the balls to do a Metallica tribute band and play 3 songs from the new album, which goes on
Yeah,
for an
nobody likes
eternity.
the new stuff,
No,
guys.
oh
No, no,
God.
I'm not saying that, but like, I mean, like, all the classic fans that are like Metallica, they died after they cut their hair off. They died after Justice. Um, not true, because like I love all of their albums,
Yeah.
and yeah, and to be honest, the fans have been really enjoying a lot of the newer stuff in the set list as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I wouldn't check out my video on the new album then, because it's just me getting redder and redder in the face as I try and sit through that thing.
Oh
But
yeah,
I got a lot of
it's quite long,
lovely,
isn't it?
lovely, lovely comments on that video. I can promise you that. Nothing fiercer than a scorned Metallica fan. I'll tell you what.
Oh,
They get very angry. But anyway, do you remember your first band or project after you finished at BIM?
yeah, so the first I guess the first band that I was gigging with was a metal band called Control the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we were mostly gigging around Bristol. We were just starting to kind of branch out to new cities. And we just kind of released a demo, and yeah, we had quite a bit of I don't know, it's kind of interesting thinking back to that time, and like, how few gigs we were doing, and like just taking your first trips um outside of your hometown. You got to make all those new connections and networks for the first time.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, Control the Storm. I mean, are they still going? Because I see that name crop up every now and then.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure whether they're exactly Bristol based anymore, because they used to be, but I think the members are a bit more spread out now. But yeah, they're still going. I think they released another album a couple of years ago or something. But yeah, they're still going.
Okay, cool. Might need to check them out again. That'd be cool. Right, so you graduate from BIM and you're starting career as a session player. How difficult would you say was it to start a career as a session musician?
I mean, I think it was really hard. I mean, obviously, I've managed to do it, but I would definitely, never say it was easy. It took a lot of, I think, pretty much any career you pursue takes a lot of time and a lot of like false starts. But yeah, I feel like there's so many great musicians out there, and it is hard to get discovered, and people only really want to get the musicians that they trust, and people they've already worked with, or people that they've seen doing amazing things and already having these opportunities. So why would they pick someone who's not had the chance to prove themselves? So it is a lot of working your way up from like nothing, and like playing with like the smallest bands, that anyone who needs someone, and you never know when you're going to get recommended up to another band, and or that person from that band joins something else and they need more, they need you again. So yeah, I don't know, I think it is hard. It does take a long time, unless if you know the right people and have some like way in. It's just a case of being available at the right time. I think it's always when people are desperate because their normal depths or whatever are unavailable. If you're available and you can just, usually it's like sickness, so it's like only a few days notice. if you can just like pull out all the stops and be like, right, I will learn this set, I will make this gig happen and save the day, then that's when it's like, aha, okay, well, actually, you've really helped us out, so we'll recommend you. But you just, it just needs to happen at the right time. All the stars need to align, basically.
Yeah, fair enough. I've always heard from people that like the two most competitive sectors of the music industry is either being a producer or being a session musician. Would you say there's weight to that? Did you feel like there's a lot of competition in that industry?
Yeah, I think so. And I think especially because I mean, I guess I'm talking more about session, like live sessions, but I think even more so for session, like recording sessions, because the people who, especially now, everyone can do it at home.
Mm.
uh they can just get so many projects on the go and get that work done quickly, move on to the next thing. So those people can just work with so many people, and if you can get that name on your recording, of course you're going to ask that person if they've got time to book you in. Yeah, you're just going to do that. You're not going to ask people who are kind of finding their way and kind of climbing the ladder. So yeah, so I think it's the same kind of like tough competition and a lot of people wanting to do it. A lot of people really good at their job, so it just, yeah, the competition gets really stiff.
Yeah, cool. I'd imagine that when you were starting out, you were just offering your services to anyone that you could. Nowadays, do you still approach people, or do you get enough people coming to you to request your services?
Now it's all, yeah, just kind of keeps going itself. So yeah, occasionally people reach out to me, and most of the time it's people who I've already worked with before. But yeah, because now my name is kind of enough in terms of maybe even like both live and recording. If they need someone, I mean, I've been trusted by some top musicians now to do the job, and they haven't had any complaints. So so yeah, so like the name is there for them, and they're happy to like ask me to do things, and also for recording as well. So yeah, I don't really go out and look for stuff anymore, which is a really great position to be in, because it's, I feel like at the start it's like a race to the bottom. Like you feel like you have to undercut other musicians in terms of like what you're getting paid, because you just really need the work and you really just want the chance to establish yourself. But over time you don't have to do that anymore, and like I understand why people are annoyed with people undercutting musicians like professionals, but it is kind of the way it has to go at the start. And people who can afford the kind of the more professional, like the higher up ones, will just still pay that because they want that name. And people who can't afford it will just like work with those people who are working their way up.
Yeah, cool, fair enough. So I was scrolling through your discography section on your website, looking at the various works you've done with other bands and whatnot. And you've worked with, I was amazed how many bands I knew as well. I was like, you worked with them as well? But yeah, there's loads. It's like I Destroy, Dorja, I think is how it's pronounced, Triaxis, and Control the Storm, which we mentioned. How many of those bands were you? Did you join any, or were they all session roles or depping?
I think all of those I joined. There was only one. I think there's been a couple of things I've done that have been just a session remote thing in terms of if it's come to an album. But yeah, all of those I joined at one point or another in the time that I was in seven bands. That included Control Storm, Triaxis, I Destroy, Doja, I think all at the same time. I think that was 2016 was a crazy year.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. So nowadays, when you do get approached for work, do you check out maybe their past, like the past work of that person first before you're open to collaborate with them, or are you normally pretty open?
It depends what they're offering. Like if it's just a recording, I'm not required to really do anything other than the recording, and they're just going to pay for it, then I'm like, I don't really mind what you do. I will do my best for whatever you're doing, and I'll just check it out of interest. But if it's more like gigs, that's when I guess I'm a bit more fussy. But I feel like the gigging experience, it needs to be something that you enjoy. Like it's just no good like playing when you're not doing like a live performance and having an audience watch you. When if you're not having a good time, then it's not really it's not, nobody's going to have a good time really, and it's going to be
Cool.
really hard to work on it.
Cool. What sort of music would put you off working with someone?
I don't know. I guess I don't know, like maybe some types of country, like it would just feel really weird. It wouldn't feel like me. Not that, or just music that was just bad. I just thought like these people aren't very good musicians. Like, you know, I'd probably watch some live videos of them playing. I mean, this has never happened to me, but yeah, if I watch some live videos of them playing and go, they don't sound like they can even keep together like with that guitarist and that drummer without me there. Like, what am I going to do in that situation? I'm going to be so embarrassed and like help. Like, so yeah, I think live shows you've got to be a bit more fussy and only do it if you think it's really worth it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Cool. So let's talk about your bands. Am I right in my research? You joined Fury before Hands Off Gretel, or was it the other way around?
Which I think it was Fury first. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I was. It was. I don't know if around the same time I was depping for both bands, and then towards I think it was the end of 2017 I joined Fury, and then I think around that time, like early 2018, I was joining Hands Off Gretel, but it wasn't announced for a little while. So yeah, it was all kind of happening
Okay.
around the same time.
Cool. Cool. On my questions, I got Hands Off Gretel questions first, so screw it. We'll talk about that band first anyway. So how did you come to join Hands Off Gretel?
So their bass player left in I think the end of 2016 or something, and then they had a tour booked, and they were looking for. I think they did some shows like as a three piece with Lauren, the vocalist, playing bass instead of guitar. And I think they started to be like, well, actually, it would be good to get a bass player. They were working on a new album, but they could cover the bass parts between the three members already. So they were just looking for someone live, and myself and another bass player kind of took whatever gigs we could because I couldn't do them all and he couldn't do them all. So we were just like depping through that kind of summer, a lot of festivals and things. And they did start kind of auditioning, like looking for bass players, and they were kind of specifically looking for a female bass player because of the backing vocals that were quite prominent in the new music. They kind of
Yep.
wanted female backing vocals. So they started looking around, and I don't know whether they didn't get many people like applying, or whether like our relationship, like while I was depping for them, was kind of growing stronger, but they were like, I feel like this role is for you, like we're kind of opening up auditions and letting people apply, but like it feels really right when we're playing together for the depth shows that you've been doing. And I was kind of thinking about it. I had these other bands and stuff, but they were so like committed to what they were doing, and you know, Lauren's work ethic was just fantastic. It felt really aligned with like what I wanted to do. So yeah, I decided to join that band in 2018. So yeah, most of the bands that I've been in like have come about from depping, just filling in temporarily, and then things happen, and then you know you
Yeah.
end up full time.
Yeah, great. I couldn't believe when I was researching it, just the level of success that Hands Off Gretel ended up getting. It, for a DIY band, it was kind of crazy. You had millions of hits on some of your songs on Spotify. I Want the World was critically praised all over the place. Is that band still active? Because it's been quite dormant for a while.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of not really active, so we're not doing any shows at the moment. We did start demoing the next album, the third album. So, but that kind of we kind of stopped doing that at the start of 2022 because Lauren's got her other project, Delilah Bond, and that's been going really, really well. So it was kind of like, okay, at what point? At first, that was just kind of a side project. It was like, let's just do a year of that, and then COVID happened, and all the chaos happened, and then it was like, well, it's got this far over a year, and it was like I don't know, the success she was getting was really exploding. So at what point did she stop doing that and come back to Hansel Gretel, which at that point was, even though it's been going for a long time, it didn't have the kind of TikTok viral explosion at the speed that Delilah Bond had. So yeah, so even though we did start working on the next album, it's kind of on the back burner for a while. I don't know how long it's going to be like that. I think it just depends how Lauren feels about the Delilah Bond stuff. If it feels like it's got to a point where she needs a break from it, or it's she's done the bit that she wants to do and wants to come back to Hands Off Gretel, then that'll probably happen. And hopefully I'll be available and the whole band will be able to get back together. But at the moment, it's kind of, I guess, a hiatus. It hasn't been anything announced, but like there's no plan to do anything yet. But there is music like bubbling under the surface, possibly to come out one day.
Okay, well, that's all very exciting though. So we'll just fingers crossed. Maybe we'll see something at some point. So the style of Hands Off Gretel and Fury as well. Come to think of it, both have sort of I don't want to say retro vibe, but they both sort of harken back to very distinct eras of music. Like Fury's quite a bit of classic rock, classic metal, that kind of thing. And Hands Off Gretel is kind of like the grungy 90s kind of stuff. Would you say that you had a signature style of playing that lends itself to more I guess callback kind of music, classic rock, classic metal, grunge, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess as a possibly even as a fingerstyle bass player, like I feel like that's more of a retro thing compared to a lot of like modern bass playing is more plectrum. I mean, not that it wasn't common in those eras as well, but yeah, I think my style does lend itself more to like classic rock and classic metal. And I guess in some ways, my playing is kind of like punk and grunge, but it's I don't know, whenever I play, I don't know, yeah, whenever I sit down and want to play something, it always ends up kind of sounding like metal. But I don't know, but yeah, such a huge part of my learning and like experience in touring has been in the kind of punk and grunge scene as well.
Cool, fair enough. And I've also noticed in much of your music, bass is always very prominent, be it in the mix, but also just by itself, the bass does stand out quite a lot. Is that your input doing that, or is that just kind of happen?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I've listened to a mix and been like, let's get some more bass, maybe.
Don't
But
we all? Don't we all?
I think I don't know. I think people like it. And I've never been. I like it when a riff is in unison with the guitars, but I think there's so much more you can do with the bass guitar and make it different and exciting. And if it's buried, then what's the point in it being there? So yeah, I like to have my bass lines actually have some kind of melodic uh, ideas that are different to the guitars. And so yeah, you kind of want them to have their own space in the kind of frequencies and stuff.
Yeah, cool. Right, so moving on to your other band, what was your history with Fury? How did that come to be?
Yeah, it's a similar story. But the bass player was he was doing a tour with Grim Reaper, I think. Yes, and so yeah, Fury had this tour in like 2017. They needed a bass player for, and I was like, go on then. Like I'd known those guys for years. Some of my first gigs, they were also on the bill as well. And yeah, and then when I learned the songs, I really enjoyed them. I was like, this band is great. Like, when you kind of know your friends' bands and you're like, oh, you see them once or twice, you're like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty cool. But when you really sit down and listen to them and learn them, you're like, yeah, this is really good. And then after a bit of time, their bass player kind of he was a bit too busy like with his other band and stuff, so he decided to leave, and they were like, well, the songs, do you want to join? And yeah, so I was like, yeah, go on then, like I'm really enjoying it and really get on with you guys. So, and I think that's the main thing, like if people are looking for a bass player, I'm always just like, oh no, I can't do that, like it's too much commitment. But if they're just looking for a depth for a few shows, I'm like, well, it's just a few shows, well, I'll just do that. And then you never know what can open up from that, like maybe you actually really enjoy it and but you never know until you get to just have that little taste.
Yeah, of course. Of course, Fury's newest album came out a little over a year ago now, I think.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. Really, really enjoyed it. How's the reception for that one been?
It's been great. Yeah, I mean, our every album we release seems to like sell the first 1,000 quicker and quicker, which is great because I mean, most people are probably streaming and like not buying CDs as much as they used to. But we found that like our popularity is growing. It's slow, but it's getting there. And yeah, the response has been really good. A lot of people have been saying that this is their favorite Fury album. So I'm very proud to have been a part of it.
Yeah, great. And I was also thinking, and you don't have to indulge this question if you don't want to, but I know myself and a lot of other people I've spoken to included. Do you feel that Fury should be bigger than you are because you guys are damn good and you've been going around a long time and you're always great at every festival? But it feels like we really want you guys to break, and it's like it hasn't. You're still on the second stage at Bloodstock. I'm like, when are you going to get to the main stage, kind of thing? Uh,
Yeah, I have this thought every waking day. I feel like the fan support is there. I feel like the numbers are there. Like they're doing really well considering we do everything ourselves. I don't really know what it is. Like we've never had any much interest from labels, PR companies. They've always been like, oh, I don't really know how to market you guys. I don't know whether we just like all look too weird, like we don't look like a cohesive thing, or they just don't know how to market a band of people that do quite like old school, not very trendy music. I think maybe it's something in between all of those things. We're not doing anything. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not. Uh, I don't know. And also, the band has been around for a long time. I think that's one of the sticking points for a lot of labels, for example.
hmm.
They want a hot new band that are like, yeah, this is our first album. And for us, it's like, no, we've done four and like we're still here. And they think, why? Like, why haven't you done anything? And it's like, I don't know, but like, the music's good and like people are coming to the shows and like surely just because the date we started was longer ago and we've put more work into it, surely that doesn't make it worse, does it? Like how come putting more putting out more music that people like doesn't help? But I don't know. It's everyone likes the trendy new band like fresh on the scene kind of thing, and we're just not that, unfortunately.
Sure. Need to get one of your songs trending on TikTok. Maybe that'll do it.
That's it. That's it.
Cool. That being said, though, if people want to check out Fury, you're no doubt going to showcase a bunch of the new album on your upcoming tour, which looks to be a monster of a tour, starting proper in a couple of weeks and going pretty non-stop till almost the end of the year. The exciting bit, though, of course, is between the 19th of September all the way through to the 8th of October. You're supporting the legendary Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. Now, that is awesome. I bet you're stoked for that.
Yes, yeah, like as I said, we don't really get many lucky breaks in the whole, I don't know how many years Fury has been going, like 13 years of the band. I never had anything like this. But yeah, we got offered to do this tour and it's just incredible. Like I've been such a Motorhead were like one of my favorite fans when I first discovered heavy metal. So and they were like one of my first gigs that I went to, and Phil Campbell was right there. And so yeah, now I get to do a whole, not just one show, but a whole tour with them. And it's even better that it's in Europe because we haven't had that many opportunities to get out there either. And now we get to play with this great band. I think it's a perfect match as well. I think the music of Fury and the music of Phil Campbell, we're going to have a lot of fan crossover, which is perfect.
Yeah, awesome. You state on your website that you average about 100 gigs a year. So I bet a tour this long is a walk in the park for yourself. That being said, do you have to brace yourself for something this long?
I mean, if you think, okay, 100 gigs a year, that's like, 2 gigs most weeks. And most of my gigs are at the weekend. So there's like gaps in between. But this is 5 weeks solid out in Europe. And the ones with Phil Campbell, they're 6 gigs off, 6 gigs on, one day off. And yeah, I've never done such an intense schedule as that, and I was just thinking like, oh my god, like when am I going to dye my hair? You know, like I'm gonna have to do my roots in like 3 or 4 weeks in. Oh no. And he like, okay, you're gonna have to like figure out, I don't know, like how many of this do I need? Because we've, I think our longest like stint away has been 2 weeks. And you can do that in a suitcase. You can like, maybe one lot of washing or something. But yeah, this is like proper and like really long journeys. And I don't know, I'm a bit worried that we're all going to fall out by about week two, and just our drummer said, oh, we need to assign a screaming pillow for the van. So when if you're upset, if someone's pissed you off, you just get the pillow and just scream into it. And then that means nobody can like, yeah, it's all, you get a free scream every day.
Nice. Yeah, it seems a smart way to do it. Awesome. Well, good luck with that tour. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Oh,
It's going to be a
oh
lot of
yeah.
fun.
Sorry, I'm complaining about like
No,
how
no.
difficult it's going to be putting up with my bandmates, but it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Also, you're doing your own headline shows towards the back end of it as well, so people can check you out, guys, out in a headline status as well. So that should be all sorts of fun. Of course, links down in the description below so people can go check out tickets and stuff for that. Cool. So I couldn't let this interview go on longer without talking about Mercyful Fate. You, of course, filled in on bass duties during Mercyful Fate's US tour last year. So how did that happen?
It was a complete surprise to me when they asked. So I was at Bloodstock Festival 2022. I was excited to see Mercyful Fate for the first time. I bought my ticket just that week because I was kind of like, I wasn't too sure about going to the festival that year, but it get closer to it, and I'm like, I have to see Mercyful Fate. Like, let's just go. And it was just like the greatest weekend of my life. So yeah, I was invited backstage. It's just someone came up to me while I was at like the bar and said like, oh, can you meet this person? And I didn't know the person they were talking about. They said Olivia, and I didn't know at the time that that's King Diamond's wife. And I was just like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll come and meet Olivia. Yeah, yeah. Where is she? Like, where do you want me to go? And they were like, oh yeah, come this way, come this way. And I ended up going, backstage next to the main stage of Bloodstock, and I'm like, who's Olivia? Like, where are you taking me? And then I speak to like the management of Mercyful Fate, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to meet Mercyful Fate. This is great. Like, what's going on? And they were still just like, wait, do you know why you're here? And I'm like, no, I'm meeting someone, Olivia, I think. And then they were like, oh, they want you to come on tour. And I'm like, who? What? Like, Mercyful Fate want you to come on tour. I'm like, what? You need a support band? You need like someone to sell merch? You need someone to like, you know, I don't know. What do you want me to do? And they're like, to play bass. We need a bass player. And I'm like, well, damn, okay. Like that's what? Like, why? Why me? And yeah, they had seen my work online, like my bass covers and things. And when they were looking for a bass player, I think their management gave them a list of bass players that might be available for that length of time. And they were looking through, and they were kind of like, oh, maybe. But I mean, then they kind of said, actually, these are all guys. Like, did you give us all guys for a reason? Like, we could have a female bass player do this tour. And then that kind of got people thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, do we know anyone? And then Hank Sherman, the guitarist, had seen some of my videos online, and he said, King, check out this bass player. She plays lots of like old school heavy metal on her page. And yeah, King saw it and was like, yeah, this bass player looks like she can do it. She can do the job. It was basically like, she's got the job. Like, and that was the weirdest thing, I suppose, because most other bands that have been looking for someone and I've applied, they'd be like, okay, learn 3 songs, come to this audition. Even though they've seen my work, which is online, obviously, like they wouldn't have asked me if they hadn't seen me play, but they still say, learn these songs, come and chat, and I want to see you play them. There was none of that. They were just so sure that I was going to do the tour, and of course, if I accepted, they were like, would you like to do it? Like, of course I would like to do it. Yes. But yeah, that was just like the best thing was that they were like, the offer is yours if you want to do it. We're going to figure it all out, all the visas, all of the transport. Um, Leave it to us and we'll get it sorted. So yeah, it was just unbelievable. Then I got to watch Mercyful Fate from side of stage and yeah, see them do their thing.
Yeah.
And then
I bet you couldn't concentrate during that set. Your head was probably going a
no,
million miles an hour.
yeah, it was. I mean, that was the craziest night. Like because I'd like left at like I don't know 6 p.m. just to like watch. I think Dimmu Borgir or something were on, and yeah, and then when I emerged back in my campsite with all my friends at like 1 in the morning or 2 or something, they were like, "Oh, Becky, where you been?" And I was like, "You're never gonna believe this."
Oh, that's mad. I mean, how did they know you were at Bloodstock so they could tell you that?
Yeah, well, apparently Livia had because they kind of when they came across my videos, they then had looked around my social media, just to check that I wasn't like a psycho or something. And I think I posted that week, I'm on my way to Bloodstock Festival, come and say hi if you're there. So she was like, okay, she's definitely here. We're gonna find her. And just lucky that I had, was watching Dimmu Borgir, but I came and walked over to the bar, the VIP bar, to see if one of my friends, my friend Alex, was like playing that weekend. I was like, oh, maybe there's no signal, I can't text him. I'll just go into the bar and see if he's there. And I was just going to pop in and then come back out. But that person who came to get me, she was like, there she is, get her. So yeah, very lucky. I don't know what else they would have done. Actually, they did. If you see any pictures, there's on the screens next to the thing, it
I was
says,
gonna
"Oh,
ask
Becky Baldwin,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
here," and that was kind of they were also trying that as well. So I guess that's what they would have done,
Yeah, I was
which would
there
have
when
been
that
even
happened.
crazier.
It's like everyone look at the screens. It said Becky go this way, and everyone in the crowd's going Becky, Becky. Like just like, no one knew who they were talking about.
Yeah,
We all had a vested interest in getting Becky backstage.
yeah, and like that night, I was like in my tent trying to go to sleep, and there were people like running around the campsite going, "Who the fuck is Becky Baldwin? Where is she?" And I'm like,
Yeah, it was great.
"I'm here
The people,
in Midgard in my little tent hiding."
the funniest was when someone like near me went, "Is it a lost child? Is it like trying to get a child back?" Just like, fuck yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. I think they wanted to get people to start talking and like wondering what's going on. And then they kind of invited me onto the stage and was like, "Oh yeah, say hi to Bloodstock." And I was like, I was so overwhelmed and like awkward at that moment, but it was very cool that they did that.
Yeah, awesome. So you get on the Merciful Fate tour. Was it? I bet it was, but how intimidating was it performing with such a legacy band like that?
Yeah, super intimidating. Like these guys have been doing it such a long time and have influenced so many musicians though, and like there were bands like really like bands that I look up to coming to the Merciful Fate shows to watch them and be like, wow, they're starstruck to see Merciful Fate. And it's like, Gary Holt from Exodus and like Dave Grohl was there in LA just being like, oh yeah, I get to see King do his thing. And I'm here with these people and it's just insane to I had to try not to think about it too much because it was just a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, and I love the Dave Grohl video when I saw that. Just him freaking out. That was great. Did he pop backstage at any point?
He did, yeah. He was chatting with King for a while afterwards, and I was kind of like, oh god, I'd really like to meet Dave Grohl, but like everyone wanted to speak to him.
Sure.
Of course they would, and but yeah, Hank Sherman was just like, you should meet Dave Grohl, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to interrupt. And he's like, I will introduce you to Dave Grohl. Come here, like, come on. And then yeah, I got to like shake his hand, and he was like so nice, of course, like. But yeah, all the stories are true. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. You mentioned earlier that there wasn't much of a rehearsal going into it. Was there any sort of like meeting of the band before you got started on the tour, basically?
Yeah, so we had a few days before the first show. The first show was in Dallas, and they'd kind of hired that venue for a few days before, while they like built the stage and like got everything together and yeah, so we had those days to rehearse. My flights ended up getting all messed up, and I missed like 2 days that I should have been at rehearsals. Nothing I could do, and I just sat at home like I should be in Dallas right now, but instead I'm in Birmingham. So, and like, yeah, I was just like, okay, I'll just stay home and practice the set again, and practice the set again, like with the same tracks that I've been doing when I, could have been with the band, but yeah, because I think King was quite busy the day before the show. He couldn't make it to the rehearsals, so we did a day of rehearsing with the two guitarists and the drummer, and that went really well because if you only rehearse it with the vocals on, then when they're taken away, it's so easy to get lost. But like my memory kind of pulled through, and it went really well. And then we did a little bit of rehearsing when we had sound check, so we did a couple of the songs in the sound check while we're getting the levels right, and then yeah, I was on to the show. So I didn't get to hear what it was going to sound like live with everyone there until like the curtain comes down and you're like, okay, go get on stage.
Brilliant. Obviously, touring America is every UK musician's dream. How did you find touring America?
It was, I don't know, it was really interesting. I really missed pastries, sausage rolls. And I didn't even realize how much I missed it until the day I came home, and I was like, oh, this place does a hot sausage roll. Oh, Greg's. Greg's and a cup of tea, and it was just like the best thing ever. But no, it is really good. They do have some good food over there. They're not completely missing out. It was very interesting, like the truck stops, seeing all the little things they have on sale. I don't have very many exciting stories because it was quite an intense tour, but the truck stops were great. And yeah, just like the people were like really friendly, so many huge fans, and yeah, people are kind of different over there. They're so excitable and keen, which is lovely.
Awesome. What's King Diamond like? And this is a direct quote from my brother. I asked him if he had any questions he wanted to throw in. He said, "Is King Diamond terrifying or a big softy?"
um when I first met him, he was in the full makeup, and I was like, this is quite terrifying. And just like the situation of how the day was going, I was like, okay, scary. But he was really nice when I chatted to him even that day. And so like over time, it took a while to just not be just daunted by who he is, but he is so chatty, and so he has so many like interesting stories. And I think like he's just lovely, but he has to like keep himself away from the rest of the band a bit because he's so chatty. He will just like burn out his voice. So most of the time it would be me and the two guitarists and the drummer hanging out most of the time, because if King comes and hangs out with us, he will just start talking, telling all these great stories, and the gig will be ruined.
Fair enough. But see, I
So
think
yeah, he's very professional, but like, but
sure.
yeah, once I did get one of the flights we took in Mexico, I got to I was like, oh, I wonder who I'm going to sit next to on this flight, because it was only like rows of like two people each side. I'm like, oh, I wonder who's my buddy, and I'm like, oh, I'm next to King. Hi. And then like the flight got delayed, so we sat there for hours just chatting, and like he was telling me loads of stories about gigs in the 80s, and like Lars Ulrich coming to the shows and going, and yeah, them rehearsing at each other's places and stuff. So it's just really cool.
That's awesome. See, I think I'd be terrified to see him without the makeup on, because I have no can't sense in my head what he looks like without it. Was that weird when you saw him without makeup for the first time?
I mean, it wasn't too weird because I'd really like I'd seen some pictures online already, and like seen a few interviews, and because I mean the first time I met him, makeup, and then between there was like 2 months in between that Bloodstock and the tour, so I did a lot of research and I kind of got used to what he looked like. But yeah, I guess I mean, I guess also because you kind of imagine him in his makeup has changed so much over the years, and like the way he dresses, like obviously he's a lot older now than he kind of how he looked before. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of got used to it, and yeah, he's just quite just chatty, really friendly guy.
Brilliant, brilliant. Are Merciful Fate songs tricky on bass? I'm not a bass player, so I wouldn't know.
I think there's a lot going on. Like there's definitely a lot of the sections just change all the time. There's like hardly any like repeating sections. So there's a lot to take in, and a lot of it is quite fast. But I wouldn't say there's anything that's super like technical, like you don't have to employ any like tapping or like crazy techniques that are on the more kind of extreme ends of like metal bass playing, but they are just very involved. They're busy, and there's a lot of improvisation going on, which is quite cool because you can tell it's changing all the time, and that means that you can have some freedom to improvise as well, which is good for being adept.
Yeah, great. Uh, did it take a while to get all the tracks down, or did you know most of them already?
I knew most of them to listen to pretty well, but yeah, I guess first learning them, it was quite quick to pick apart the tracks and figure them out. But I think the main thing was getting them all in the right order. When you start piecing together all the sections, and I just didn't realize how proggy the band was, even in those early albums. I kind of was just like, oh yeah, okay, it's just like a metal, classic metal song. You have the intro, verse, chorus, middle eight, solo, chorus. And it's not like that at all. Like,
Mhm.
this riff will be introduced and you'll be like, okay, that might come back later. It does not come back later.
Yeah.
You've just got something else. We're just going to change key, change time signature. And so, I guess that was why maybe it took a bit longer to learn, like memorize, because the start of the song sometimes sounds completely different to the end of the song. And unless if you've really practiced all those changes and how they go into each other, you can be like, okay, yeah, Corpse Without Soul. I remember how it starts, but I can't think of like the whole every single riff. Like it takes a while to get that to sink in.
Cool, fair enough. What was it that bass behind you that you took on that tour?
Oh, it was. Oh, well, actually, yeah, I took the black one,
Yeah, the one with
and
the forget
yeah, and I
the
took the white one, the kind of
oh yeah, of course.
yeah, the inverted version of that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had this one as my main one, but the pickups went down on one of the shows, like the fourth gig in, and so I had to switch to the other one for a
Okay.
while the guitar tech fixed my stuff, which was great. I had a guitar tech for the first time who like you know tuned everything for me. It was just wonderful.
To not have to tune your own strings.
Yes.
That was
Yeah. I was
nice.
like, I don't know if I'm going to remember how to like tune my bass after this. It's been so long and this guy's doing it all. And it was kind of weird. Like actually the first time when that bass went down, quickly swap to the other one, like, oh, it's okay. And then I kind of look over and he's like taking everything apart and like all the insides of my bass are like outside and I'm like, oh no, put it back. Like, what are you doing? My baby. But he's doing his job, so that was just very surreal to see that. Like that's my bass I should be playing, and it's like in bits over there during the set.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. I'm sure that tour was filled with a lot of pinch me moments, but does any like one spring to mind?
um, I think it would have been. I think the show we did in Mexico, we did this festival that was Behemoth were on just before us, and Judas Priest were headlining, and I got to meet Rob Halford, and that
Oh,
was
nice.
like just so cool. And yeah, I got to have a photo with him, and King kind of introduced him to me because at first he was just kind of like I don't know, he just kind of walked in, wanted to meet King, and he wasn't super interested in meeting everyone. Like he didn't really have
Mhm.
time to do that. But King made a point to kind of bring me over and be like, "This is our bass player. She lives in Birmingham." And then he's like,
Ah, of
"Oh,
course.
Birmingham? Oh, yeah, whereabouts?" And got to talk about um yeah, his hometown and my new hometown. So that was a really cool thing that I never thought would ever happen in my life. But there we go.
Yeah, amazing. That whole tour sounds just like an incredible experience. So yeah, massive congratulations for that. Hopefully there's some more awesome shit to come later in your career. Cool. So, going to pivot to something completely different now. So, I wanted to talk about the ongoing discussion regarding women in heavy metal. I talked to Serena Cherry of Svalbard a couple of years back about this topic,
Mm.
and she said that she felt that things were improving for women in the scene, but we still have a long way to go. I'm paraphrasing. People can go check out that video if they want to hear more. But I wanted to get your perspective as well, because you've had a very successful career in the industry, and you've spoken about this topic in parts in the past. I did quickly catch your feature on BBC Women's Hour the other day. That was really, really cool. So basically, it's all well and good me saying I've seen more women at metal shows than ever before. I've seen more metal bands with women in them than ever before. But as a guy, I know I can't really experience that side of things. So, very loaded question coming at you now. Um, do you feel that things are improving for women in heavy metal, or indeed music as a whole?
I think yes, both. Yeah, for definitely for music and also for metal. I guess maybe more so for metal than music in general. Like I think it's just like the speed in which it's improving. I think it's doing really well. It's definitely not there yet. I think there's still a just I don't know, just a feeling people have about women in metal. Like they kind of consider it a genre, and
Mm,
like I don't know. I guess like when you see a woman in a metal band, it's usually okay. Like, is it a symphonic goth metal band or is it a death metal band? That's the like there's it's great that there's loads of like a lot of female death metal bands, a lot more female vocalists doing those kinds of like harsh vocals and stuff. And but it still feels like it's either one or the other. Like it's like death metal or symphonic stuff, and but people aren't really used to it being in every part of heavy metal as a genre and as a kind of culture. So I think yeah, there's still definitely a long way to go, and I guess like for example like girls school a long time ago and it really felt like it kind of it did nothing else much happen. Like there was kind of girls school and vixen and there have been a few bands, but like there haven't been as many like really significant girl bands in the kind of I don't know classic metal genre that keep coming through. I mean yeah, compared to how many like male bands there are, it feels like it's still quite a rarity to see them, and it's harder for them to be taken seriously and to accept. I think the thing that I find hard is like it's it feels harder to accept certain roles or know where your place is in the industry because you don't know what people are um what they want from you and what you want from them, if you know what I mean. Like there've been, for example, there've been times when I've been invited to the backstage of an event and it's worked out really badly for me because but there have been times where it's worked out really well if you know what I mean. So you know, being invited backstage with Mercyful Fate, it was great, I was offered a job, but sometimes people reach out to my bass player page thing and say come backstage, and they just kind of want to give you a load of alcohol and drugs and get like and then like then you don't really know what's going to happen. And I have to worry and think about these things, whereas like my partner, who is a man who is also a bass player, doesn't have to worry if he's being invited backstage by a band. It's either like cool hangout or a job, or like maybe a job or something in the future like that. But I have to worry about my safety, and um yeah, it's just like you don't know, you don't want to get too close to certain people as well. Like you get a message from someone, you start talking to them and you start thinking like, hey, why do they want to talk to me? Like but the kind of dynamic of women at shows being groupies and just kind of wanting to cling on, and like they're only there to meet the band members because they want to like hang out with them and just be close to powerful men. Like it doesn't help anyone like with that thinking, and it makes it very difficult for a woman to navigate the music industry because you always just want to keep growing. You want to be able to meet these musicians and not feel any kind of concern about what could be going on, what their intentions are for you. You want to just think, oh, they respect respect you as a musician, and or just want to hang out or whatever. But yeah, you have to like worry about what they think that you want to get out of this meeting. Also,
Uh,
I guess that was quite deep very quickly,
no,
but
no, no
yeah, it's
worries.
something I think about quite a lot because I have to worry about it, and I think men don't have to do that.
Sure. You recently made a very impassioned post regarding your imposter syndrome. You described it. You recall when you met Mercyful Fate and had to deal with like knobheads, as you said, not taking you seriously, kind of thing. Did you feel was that partly the case because you were rubbing shoulders with such a legacy artist, and you were a session player from Birmingham, and but or was it also partly because, as you said, you were a woman musician backstage, whatnot, or was it maybe a mix of the two?
I think definitely a mix of the two. I think people just didn't really understand why I was there, and I think if I was just a random guy who was there, they wouldn't feel the need to like take the Mickey out of me or even like make any kind of comment. Um, but yeah, like I think I guess there was also the kind of thought of, okay, this is a legacy band. They could literally ask any bass player, like, and these other people who've been in the industry for a long time and have done this kind of level of touring for a long time. I also feel like they are more deserving of this job than I am, um, and so of course, I'm going to feel a little bit insecure about what's going on and where I am. But yeah, I think it's just that people think that they can. I don't know. They somehow get a kick out of making that person feel even more insecure than they already were. And yeah, like I guess anyone can feel that insecure. It definitely, I mean, I guess I still feel the same way about that if I was a man, but I think I stood out. I guess I stuck out more as a woman in that scenario.
Yeah, sure. Do you think that should festivals have a responsibility to um, I guess, make a conscious effort to have a mix of men, women, and other people playing at festivals, basically. Because, of course, I think it was maybe 2018 or 19 Download, they caught a lot of flack for their very male centered lineup. Do you think that festivals do have a duty to look out for that kind of thing for the sake of the scene?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's helpful for the scene. I think it's good for the audiences, and I guess it's always every year for every festival it's going to be a small group of people responsible for booking loads of bands for loads of people to see. And I guess if those people just don't really listen to bands outside a genre, or they consider women in bands to be not the genre they listen to, um, then yeah, women are just going to miss out. So not that I think there should be a minimum percentage of bands, because it has to be just appropriate for the lineup. It has to be that they're at the right kind of status to play the show that they're doing. Like it would be awful to like put a band on purely because of like any reason that weren't ready for that show because they'd look stupid, but yeah, like having some kind of awareness and making an effort to be like, okay, do we have, are all these bands here just going to be like white dude bands, like just like cis het white dudes? That's fine. Like most of the bands we like are probably going to be like that, but yeah, just make some kind of effort to make it a bit more diverse, because it's going to keep music more interesting, and it's just going to be better for the scene and the progression of heavy metal as a culture and as like a genre. Because I don't know, I think we're kind of, heavy metal is to me like an outsider's thing, but if we kind of make it so like exclusive and just be like, yeah, but we only want like these guys bands to play, we kind of don't want to, we're excluding people on purpose, like then it's kind of the opposite of what metal should be. It
Yeah.
should be like bringing those people from the like margins of the kind of what people think of as metal and bring them in and be like, this is something interesting and different. Like for example, like Zeal and Ardor, um I think, just because the guy is not white, like it makes it different, and he's singing about things that are not often sung about in heavy metal, and that makes it so different and exciting for the listeners, and gives it a bit more variety in what's going on in the metal genre.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Great. Well, thank you for all those thoughts on that. That was all really cool, really, really cool stuff. Cool. So
Sorry, it
we'll
started just coming out once I
no
started
worries, no
talking.
worries. No, I'd much rather that than the one sentence answers. It's a lot better for the video that way. Cool. We'll lead out with something a bit more positive. So you co-founded Bristol Rock Centre, which is an awesome independent music school. On top of everything else that you've done and do, what made you start that venture as well?
I think it was mostly I just needed some money,
Yeah.
as every musician does. You're like, what can I do? I still want to gig at the weekends. I still need to like have time to work on my band. I want to work in music, but I don't know. I don't have the contacts. And so you start teaching. And, not that it was just, a money grabbing exercise. It was something that once I started doing it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm good at this. I can. And it was more getting together as a school, like working with other ex-students of BIM Bristol, and being like, actually, this can be a much better learning experience for the students if we work together. So we can have like drums, vocals, bass, guitar, and get those students any age, because it's kind of similar to what BIM do. Like you've got the different disciplines, and then you throw them together and have like live music workshops. We did a similar thing, but of course we can do any age, like, and it's just kind of normal casual private lessons. So it's not people who are pursuing a career in it, but it's people who just want to have fun with music. So but yeah, I think the students got a lot from it, and it gave us something a bit different to to get more students and keep them interested for a lot longer. So yeah, it was a really cool thing to be involved with.
Yeah, brilliant. Asking for a friend, would you accept an average guitarist who regrets not practicing more during his uni studies and wants to get good at guitar again?
Absolutely, yes, yes. It's
Cool.
open to anyone.
Awesome, awesome stuff. Okay, cool. So we're nearly at the end, but before we get to our fun, spectacular outro thing, I've already mentioned Fury's upcoming tour, but there's no doubt plenty going on in your world right now. Anything you want to quickly plug?
Okay. So I guess my other thing is like my Patreon. So if you're interested in my life just in general, and what I'm doing, any like behind the scenes stuff, you can subscribe to me on Patreon, or just like follow my public pages. But yeah, most of the stuff I'm doing at the moment is with Fury. So yeah, just keep following along Fury at the shows, and go to my website, beckybaldwinbass.com, to find all the links to other things where you can follow me and all that good stuff.
Awesome. As always, for people watching, check out the links down below so you can check out all things Becky Baldwin. The list of links this time is going to be quite extensive, so definitely check those out. Okay, so we like to end these interviews the same way every single time, with some random quick-fire questions that have nothing to do with anything. You can think as long or as short as you like, elaborate if you want. Just some fun, light-hearted questions to see us through to the end. We always start with this one. It's kind of the metal Marmite question. Do you like Ghost?
Um, Kind of like, I really like them. I like them on record. I do enjoy a good Ghost song when it comes on, but I did see them live. Oh, I can't remember what year it was, 2018 or 19, and I was like really disappointed, to the point that I just couldn't listen to them on record again for a while. I was very upset that they weren't very good live. But I don't know. I think it was just the same. I think I just expected more, I don't know, pizzazz from the show, and more. I don't know. It was. I guess it's a very kind of produced kind of sound, and my imagination gave it more than what the live show gave me, unfortunately.
Sure.
So
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that though. Where people said I like them on record, wasn't as good live. I've almost
really,
unanimously heard it the other way around every time I've asked that question. But there you go. You all like
maybe I went
different.
to a bad gig. Maybe it was not a good
Maybe
one.
was it? It wasn't their Bloodstock show, was it? 20.
It was,
It was.
yeah.
I loved that show. So there you go. Well,
Oh, sorry.
it was my first time seeing them as well. So
It
you know,
was, yeah.
yeah. But you know, whatever. We all enjoy different things. Cool. Next question. Classic metal or modern metal?
Classic metal.
Yeah, I kind of figured as such. Cool. Mosh pit or standing at the barrier?
Or standing at the barrier.
Cool. Bloodstock or download?
Mm, Bloodstock.
Nice. Yep, I would not have accepted any other answer.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I mean, I wish I went to. I don't know. I wish I went to download this year. I just wish I was there to see Metallica twice. But yeah, generally, I would definitely just always have a better time at Bloodstock.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. My mate Ruben threw this one in because he was interested. Your favorite bassist outside of metal?
I would say. Okay, I bet I'm going to think of loads of others like by the time after this interview. I'm going to go for Rocco Prestia from Tower of Power. He's a funk bass player. I love a bit of funk. I think that's my second favorite bass style after metal.
Yeah, awesome. Favorite band slash artist?
I'm going to go for Black Sabbath.
Nice. Yeah, good choice. Good choice. Do you prefer film or TV show?
Films.
Film. Favorite film?
Oh, I'm going to go for Ginger Snaps.
Okay.
Heard of it?
Not heard that one before.
No, it was quite a budget, like it wasn't like low budget, but it wasn't a big film, like Canadian like horror goth flick thing. I don't know. I really enjoyed it in my teens, and then I stopped watching it for a while, and then I watched it again. And I was like, this is still great. This is yeah, I love
Fair
it.
enough. Fair enough. Favorite TV show?
I really enjoyed Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was good. What are you currently listening to?
I'm listening to a lot of Candlemass actually since the Bloodstock show. I've been like getting really super into them. But yeah, that's been a top rotation.
Nice. Favorite hands off Gretel song?
Oh, I'm thinking possibly I don't know, I can't decide now. Maybe Oh Shit, that one's a lot of fun to play. Or I'm sure I've got like others that are like more my favorites, but yeah, like Sass is a good one to play as well.
Cool. Favorite Fury song?
Road Warrior, definitely.
Nice. And final question, you probably see where I'm going with this. Favorite Mercyful Fate song?
Melissa.
Nice. Good choice. Anyway, that's all I've got. Thank you so much, Becky, for joining me today. This was awesome. Really, really cool.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been great to chat with you. The time has flown by.
Oh, right.
I'm so
Cool.
sorry you got such a long video.
No, I wrote the questions. It's blame me. Cool. So, as I said, once again, check those links down below to go support Fury, Hands Off Gretel, Becky, everything Becky Baldwin, basically. Thanks again, Becky, for joining me. Thank you all for watching. Go listen to some amazing heavy metal, and I'll see you all in the next video. Yes, help us from the devil and find. I'm down soon, so save your spine.